Hi, this is Amanda Horton with DoxTek. We're excited for the second webinar in our new OnBase series. We'll be discussing increasing efficiency with reporting dashboards. This session will be recorded and made available via the DoxTek website and sent to you following the webinar. Participants will be put on mute, but if you have any questions during the webinar, please enter them in the chat bar and we'll be sure to address them. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our Highland partner, Tom Gruska, who will be presenting on OnBase Reporting Dashboards. And I'll let Tom introduce himself, and with that, turn the time over to him. Thank you.
All right, hi everybody. Again, my name is Tom Grucha. I am a product evangelist with Highland Software. Been with the company about 8 years, and yes, my areas of expertise do include our reporting solutions, our workflow solutions, our retention solutions, and more. But today, we are going to focus our attention specifically on a newer product in the OnBase product line, something that we are very excited about still here at Highland, and something that we are investing significant R&D resources into, and that is our reporting dashboards product introduced in OnBase 15 and significantly enhanced over the past few versions as well. So I am willing to bet that most people on the line with us today have something like what you're seeing on the screen here. It doesn't necessarily have to be an Apple Watch. It could be a Fitbit. It could be any number of those other fitness tracking devices that everybody seems to have on them today. And these devices are pretty amazing. You know, they'll measure everything from your heartbeat to how many steps you've taken in a day to how many flights of stairs you've climbed. And it has these amazing companion apps that take all that data and display it in a way that makes it really, really easy to understand and analyze. And of course, these are great products, but my ultimate question is always, well, why? It's great to have all this information. It's great to have it all visualized for you in a very simple and understandable format, but what is the ultimate goal here? Well, the goal, of course, is to take all this information that's given to you about your current state of fitness and do something about it. Maybe one day you don't hit your step goal, so you park a little bit farther away from your building, or you don't hit that flight of stairs goal, so instead of taking the elevator one morning, you actually climb 3 flights of stairs to your desk. You're supposed to take this information that's given to you and improve upon it, to do something to make those numbers go up or to hit your benchmarks for the day. Ultimately, it comes back to this old adage of you cannot improve what you do not measure. We measure something to get a baseline or a standard, and then the idea is to surpass those numbers and to improve upon those numbers in any number of different ways. So this is ultimately the goal here. And when it comes to something like reporting dashboards in OnBase, we are doing the same thing just for your documents, for your content that you're storing in OnBase, for the users that are accessing that content, for the processes that you are managing in OnBase. We can create baselines or standards for how many people are accessing a certain document type over a certain amount of time, how many people are signed into the system at a current point in time. Also, how documents are moving through a workflow automated process and how long they're staying in certain steps in the process and how long a certain person has access to that document in workflow before it moves to the next step in the process. These are all things we can measure in an attempt to take that information and improve your OnBase system health and also your workflow process health at the same time. And you're going to hear me focus a lot on workflow today because this is such a great add-on to an already established workflow process. You know, we've gone through such work, going through discovery, going through implementation, and getting feedback from users to create this incredible automated process in workflow. But the work that you do to improve that process should not stop there. And this is a tool that will allow you to tease out some areas of improvement, some potential bottlenecks or weak points or delays in that process in an effort to eliminate them and make that process even better in the future. So just to put a formal definition around it, reporting dashboards is, yes, OnBase's native reporting tool that can allow users and administrators to point and click configure dashboards to analyze both business data and system performance. So we're not just talking about raw performance data here. We're also talking about analyzing business data that's already being stored in your system, primarily in the form of keywords. We are adding keywords to documents because we find that data to be very impactful on the content itself, but also potential processes that those documents are going to be used for and with in the future. So why not have a tool that helps us tease out that business data and display it in a way that we can analyze it at a high level? Reporting dashboards is going to allow us to do just that. I also want to specifically point out that, yes, these dashboards are entirely and can be entirely point and click configurable, all the way from sourcing the data from the OnBase database or any number of third-party databases, but also creating a visual aspect to those dashboards, creating the pie charts and the bar charts and the grids of data. That can all be done without having to write a single line of custom code, which can allow you to turn over the ownership and the creation of these dashboards to the people that know the data the best, and they know how they want to see that data. It could be a business analyst, it could be somebody who's running a particular process, or a manager at a higher level in the organization. They can create those custom views into the data that they need just the way they need it, and they don't have to play this back and forth with IT, going back and forth and saying, well, I need you to update this report, and I need you to change this aspect of this particular pie chart, or I need this new type of chart included in this report. This is something they can go in and change and update themselves. More importantly, though, Reporting Dashboards is also OnBase's flagship reporting solution. Again, we are pouring a lot of R&D resources into this product, and as you see new releases of OnBase come out, you're going to see a lot of updates for Reporting Dashboards. And I've got a spoiler for you. When it comes to OnBase 18, you're going to see a lot of brand new enhancements to Reporting Dashboards, really backing up that statement that, yes, we are investing in this product and customers are very, very excited about it. Before we actually jump into the software and I show you what this can do, I just want to show you some example dashboards of dashboards that are either currently in production or dashboards that we are using on an industry by industry basis today, just so you see what some of the possibilities are. And we're actually going to jump in and demo this dashboard you're seeing right now in just a little bit. But yes, this is a workflow monitoring dashboard. We're getting some high-level information about a workflow process that is currently being executed in OnBase. And I can take a look at a snapshot of this data, or I can have this dashboard automatically refresh for me based on a time interval all the way down to 1 second. So I can work with essentially what is real-time data in the system. So I can see how documents, again, are moving through the process and some areas where delays might be incurred. Also some places where we can maybe increase the efficiency of this process as well. Here's a more administrative dashboard, again, just looking at specific aspects of an OnBase system. And here we're taking a look at the breakdown of documents, not only by type in the system, but also by location in the system. So as you can see, we got a map up top showing us that we've got a lot of documents in New York and in South Carolina, not so many in Florida or Kentucky. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that document type breakdown by count. So you can see we are storing a lot of nursing notes in the system, a lot of patient ID documents as well. So it's a really easy way to, again, assess the health of the system, what kinds of documents are being stored, what are the most popular, and then to the right of that you see a breakdown of documents by facility. Once more, this time instead of a map, we're showing that in a more traditional pie chart format. Here's a higher education dashboard, and it's important not to necessarily get hung up on the specific industry, but the way that we can take raw data, and in this case, even raw data from a third-party application, and display it in reporting dashboards to give it a highly visual look. So in this case, we are pulling information in from a third-party student information system, and we can see a couple of things right off the bat when we take a look at this dashboard. We can see that we have a lot of engineering students applying this particular semester. We can see that part of the pie chart represented by that 25% slice that is labeled engineering. We can also see that, again, a majority of our students are coming from the USA, and that pie chart all the way on the right. You can also see we have a high percentage of students applying from not only China and Canada, but from Mexico as well. And these dashboards are fully interactive. You're going to see examples of this in the software. But if I just wanted to drill down and see information about those engineering students, I can click on that piece of the pie chart, and the rest of this dashboard, both the gender and citizenship pie charts, as well as that grid or essentially spreadsheet of information on the bottom about applicants will update just to show me information about the students applying to the engineering program. So it's a very easy way for me to drill down and get additional views into the data that's being shown to me. Here's a healthcare dashboard as well. Again, just a different way of showing data that, again, might be housed in a third-party system. In this case, we can see the number of deficiencies in the system by level. We can also see deficiency by type. We also see a bar chart of deficiency count by physician. So Dr. Kenneth Fitzpatrick there might be getting a visit from us, wondering why he's got so many deficiencies in the system right now. So again, teasing out inefficiencies in the process and eliminating delays by getting a high-level view of how documents and how content is working through a workflow lifecycle. Ultimately, though, no matter what data is being served, we have true self-service on-demand reporting here. And I've already mentioned it once, but what we are doing with reporting dashboards and allowing these views into the data to be point-and-click configured is eliminating this back and forth between the business analyst and somebody in the IT side of the house, where that business analyst sends that developer an email and says, I got this new report I need you to create for me. It's got to be referencing this data, and I need these views. Here's a sketch of what I want this to look like that's attached to the email, and then that IT person develops that report. They send it over to the business analyst, and that business analyst says, oh, this is good, but I've got a couple other things I need to add. I need you to change this. And oh, by the way, that data that you pulled is totally out of date now, so I need you to pull fresh data for me. So with this on-demand, self-service type of reporting that Reporting Dashboards is giving us, we're eliminating this back and forth so we can always be sure that we are working with the most up-to-date data that is reasonable, and also ensures that we're getting that exact view into the data that we want as that business analyst or that process owner or as that manager in a specific department. So yes, Reporting Dashboards is bringing us a ton of benefits, and we've mentioned some of these already, but yes, we are providing users with a self-service reporting tool while continuing to respect database security policies. Nobody is directly interacting with the OnBase database or any of these third-party databases. We are working through the application server so we can put additional layers of security between the user and the actual data. We are making complex data easier to understand by providing a graphical view of, again, not only business activity, but also system health. And we've seen some examples of that already with those dashboards I just showed a minute ago. We can also help to minimize delays in decision-making by presenting all the relevant data for analysis in real time or near real time with these dashboards. Nobody has to ask for a report to be run. Been talking about this a lot so far, but yes, we can promote process improvement by highlighting trends and potential bottlenecks in workflow solutions. And we can also ultimately reduce IT costs by allowing the business users and analysts to create their own views of process and performance data. So those IT members can spend their time doing something that might be a little bit more high value to the organization. And yes, these dashboards are extremely feature rich, and you will see examples of these in the software. But we do have a point-and-click dashboard designer that will allow business users to create their own dashboards without any coding whatsoever. So again, the person that knows the data the best can create that view into the data that they need. Yes, we can share dashboards with other OnBase users, but also control access to that dashboard. So if I only want to share a read-only version of a dashboard that I created for my team, I can share out that read-only access. If I create a killer dashboard and I want other people in my department to use that dashboard as a sort of template, I can give them edit rights to that dashboard so they can create their own customized view into that data. We also have interactive dashboard items that allow users to dynamically update, filter, and drill down into specific business data. So if I want to get a deeper dive, or if I want to take a closer look into a specific aspect of one of those dashboard items, I simply click on that piece of the pie chart or that piece of the bar chart, and I can drill down into just that subset of data. Now, this is something completely unique to OnBase. We have something called display actions that will allow users to open related documents, workflow queues, workview case management objects, folders, and also Esri maps by simply clicking on different aspects of the dashboard. So yes, all of this data that's being served up by the dashboard is referencing something in OnBase, whether it's a document or a workflow process or any other type of information we're storing in the system. Well, one of the unique aspects of doing this type of reporting in OnBase is that OnBase can relate that data that you're looking at directly back to content you're storing in the system to give the user additional context as they're analyzing that data. That's something you're not going to get if you do this type of reporting outside of OnBase. We also include a dashboard web viewer that will provide access to those dashboards from any standard web browser, including mobile browsers, extending those dashboards beyond just the Unity and web clients. So we can provide access to these dashboards to somebody that doesn't even have an OnBase client. We also have data provider wizards that are provided that will give you step-by-step assistance for creating new data sources for dashboards. So essentially, you can have OnBase write SQL to the OnBase database for you. And you can always create additional data providers using custom SQL as well if you have those resources available. As of OnBase 16, we can also schedule data provider execution by utilizing something called the Unity Scheduler. So we now have scheduled reporting in OnBase. This is something we didn't have for a long time, and we finally do with the advent of Unity Scheduler. And of course, as you would expect, we have granular security and permissions that are added to these dashboards and the data they display so that we can protect any sensitive data and content, as well as control how users interact with those dashboards. We can also export dashboard data to Excel. So if we have a business analyst who's more comfortable working with features in Excel, you can just take a dump of all that data straight to Excel, treat that as any other Excel spreadsheet, and once we do all that formatting and we do that analysis within Excel, we can always upload that spreadsheet into OnBase and treat it like any other OnBase document. We can also upload a snapshot of that dashboard directly into OnBase as an image file for archival purposes. And of course, there are many, many more features to talk about, but one of the great things I like to point out with reporting dashboards is that we do include sample dashboards to get you started. Those are currently housed on the Reporting Dashboards product community. They're a great training tool. They are a great educational tool because you can just download these example dashboards. They use parameters from your own OnBase system. One of the best things I encourage people to do is to download these example dashboards, play around with them, see how they were designed, see how they were built, try to reverse engineer them. They're a great educational tool. We also provide those step-by-step data provider wizards for workflow information, document retrieval information like doc type and keyword information, document imaging, workflow approval management, more aspects of OnBase. But of course, if we do not have a data provider wizard for the data that you are looking for, you can always create custom data sources with SQL. Now, these dashboards are configurable and only configurable within the Unity client, but they can be accessed from the Unity client, the web client, and any standard web browser, including mobile, with that dashboard web viewer server that I mentioned earlier. That is included as a part of the standard reporting dashboards license. So I just want to give you a little preview of the types of dashboard items that can be created. We can create pivots, grids, pie, bar, column, and line charts. We can create gauges, scorecards, choropleth and geopoint maps, and we can also add additional items to dashboards like images, text, and filter elements. So these are highly customizable. You can get some very, very pointed, very, very unique views into data, again, without having to write a single line of code. Now, just to give you a little bit of an idea of how this works on the back end, I mentioned earlier that yes, no user will have direct access to any data source or any database that Reporting Dashboard is pulling data from. They will interact through the OnBase application server. And of course, we can put additional layers of security between the OnBase application server and those data sources, between the application server and this visualization layer that includes the clients. So there are a number of ways that, again, we can continue to respect database security policies while taking advantage of this product. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into some software. Just want to show you some of the more user-facing features that come with reporting dashboards. And again, like I mentioned, these dashboards are configured in the Unity client, but they are viewable from the Unity client, the web client, and also that dashboard's web viewer server that's included with the product. But we're going to take a look at an example dashboard from the Unity client. So here I am on my personal page in Unity. I'm running OnBase 17 here. You'll see that once I'm licensed for dashboards, I do have a new button on my home tab that will take me directly to what we call the dashboard gallery. And the dashboard gallery is simply a listing of the different types of dashboards that either I have created or I have been granted permission to by another OnBase user. So you can see I have a couple of AP dashboards here, an accounts receivable dashboard, also a human resources dashboard, and there's a number of ways that a user can organize these different dashboards in their gallery as well. So we are currently taking a look at that same AP invoice process monitoring dashboard that I showed a little bit earlier in the presentation. So a lot of these dashboard items should look familiar to you. And I just want to give you a quick tour of the dashboard before we start slicing and dicing some data here. In the left corner here, we will see what we call a filter element, and this filter element allows me to just show data for specific vendors who are involved in this invoice process. So if I just want to see data about BioBase, Health and Health Medical, also Phone Shack and Tap It Buttons, as you can see, I can select individual vendors from that filter element, and the dashboard will update to just show me data about those individual vendors. But let's go ahead and show all for the rest of this demo. To the right of that filter element, here is a pie chart that is showing me specifically the number of invoices that are in each queue for this process, and we can see we've got a fair number of exceptions that are involved in this process right now. We're going to take a dive in and take a look at those exceptions in just a moment. To the right of that pie chart, we'll see what we call a gauge. And this gauge is showing us something very important about this process. This gauge is showing us how many exceptions we are currently above our accepted standard or watermark for this process. So you see that little triangle on the gauge that's below the number 2 there? As an organization, we have decided that, yes, we are okay with there being 2 or less exceptions currently in this invoice process. If there are any more than 2 exceptions currently in the process, we consider that bad. So if you look, there's a number below that, number 5 on the gauge. You see that red 2 with the plus sign there? We are currently at 4 exceptions in this process. We are 2 above our accepted watermark, so that's why we're showing a red +2 as a part of this gauge. So I'm getting some information about the health of the process currently by just taking a quick glance at this gauge, and this might actually influence how I process my work if I'm an AP clerk involved in this process. Below this watermark, we see a bar chart that's showing us the amount of money that's tied up for each vendor in this process right now. And we can see that Boone Electric Company and BioBase currently have somewhere around $20K tied up in this process. So that might actually influence how I prioritize my work as a part of this process as well. I might jump in and just start working on Boone Electric Company invoices to clear some of that dollar amount out of the process. And then below this bar chart, I see just a grid of information about the invoices that are currently in this process. And I want to point out a couple of visual elements in this grid as well. This was something that we added in OnBase 17, but I have some conditional formatting that's giving me, again, some notifications about documents that are currently flowing through this process. I can see under invoice amount that invoices that are over a certain dollar amount are flagged in red and have a yellow exclamation mark on the left side of that cell. Now, I might be concerned with invoices that are over, say, $2,000. This is a really easy way for me to, in a visual way, understand how many invoices are currently over that dollar amount and specifically start working them. There's also a little visual indication as to the status of that invoice. I can see an open green circle there to the right of the status keyword showing me that, yes, those invoices are all currently marked as open. Maybe invoices that are currently processing are indicated by a yellow circle. Maybe currently processed or closed invoices are currently shown with a red circle to the right. Again, giving me a very quick way to assess the status of invoices that are flowing through the system. So again, this dashboard is giving me a really nice 20,000-foot view of the process. But again, as an AP clerk, I might be specifically concerned about those invoices. With that being said, those invoices that are exceptions right now, let's drill down and take a look at some information about those. So when I do click on that specific piece of the pie chart that represents the invoice exceptions, we have now seen that the rest of the dashboard is updated to show me just data about those exceptions. So I can see that we have some Computers R Us invoices that are tied up in exceptions right now, also some Boone Electric Company invoices. But what I'd like to do is move out some of these Computer R Us exceptions right now, and I can do that by simply taking a look at that grid at the bottom of the dashboard. I can see some more specific information about those exceptions. And what I might want to do is simply just say, I want the highest dollar amount exception to show first. I can do that with some simple sorting and organization features in this grid. I can see that this Computer R Us invoice for almost $4,000 is currently marked as an exception. And as an AP clerk, I might say, yes, this is the first exception I want to work. And again, because we are taking a look at this data and we're working with this dashboard within OnBase, it's as easy as double clicking on the information about this invoice to bring that invoice up in OnBase in the standard Unity viewer. And I can treat this just like any other OnBase document. I can view a note that's been attached to this invoice. We can see that the exception here was that we are missing a packing slip for this document. So I can go ahead and track down that particular missing document. I can also check out the cross references for this particular document. I can take a look at the original purchase order for this invoice as I'm working the exceptions, see if there's any information there I can use to solve this particular exception. One thing I do want to point out though, and this is something that's unique to the Unity viewer, is that yes, this document is currently involved in a workflow process, and because of that, the tasks associated with it follow that document throughout the Unity client. So even though, again, I'm not in the workflow interface, I am still in my dashboard interface. Those workflow tasks are surfaced to me through the Unity viewer. So I can see I've got 3 decisions to make on this document. I can send it over to the purchase agent for review. I can mark this document and the exception as corrected and reprocess it, or I can just simply say, you know what, just approve this for payment. This exception was miscalculated. It's okay, send it for approval. So maybe we'll do just that. We will mark this exception as approved for payment, and we'll see we get a notification here that yes, we want to add a new note that this exception was marked for approval by me, the current manager that signed in. A new note is added to that document, and we can see we have a notification on the bottom of the screen that yes, our ad hoc task, that workflow ad hoc task, was executed on that item. Now, if we go ahead and we refresh our dashboard, we'll see that yes, we now have one dashboard that's awaiting post to the ERP. That is the invoice that I marked as approved for payment. We can see that our invoice amount went down by 1. We are now at 3 exceptions. And yes, as you would expect, our invoice exceptions watermark has dropped from 2 to 1. So now we are at 3 exceptions, 1 above that standard accepted watermark of 2. All right. So with that, I just want to pause while we're still in the software for a couple questions.
We don't have any questions.
No questions currently. Okay. So as you are still kind of digesting everything we went over this afternoon, if you do have a question, type them in. But I just do want to give just a quick plug to the OnBase product communities. If you are looking for more information on reporting dashboards, there is an entire product community dedicated to it. There you will find product information like the product overview. That is a one single download. That's a 2-page PDF that will give you a quick overview of what the product is, what its key features and key benefits are, some screenshots, Really great way to review everything I've talked about today, but also to share with other members of your organization. You can download presentations and videos from each individual product community, and I have a number of resources for reporting dashboards up there currently, including what was added in the past couple recent versions of OnBase. You can find the module reference guide there if you're looking for more technical information. There's also a forum where if you have questions following today's webinar and you thought, oh, I really should have asked that while Tom was presenting, go ahead and ask those questions on the Reporting Dashboards forum. Those forums are monitored by Hyland product experts, including members from our research and development teams. So you can get that question answered by not only other members of the OnBase community that use this product, but also members of research and development that work on the product. So definitely take advantage of that, and there's a lot more there to dig into. So again, for more information on everything you've seen today, check out the Reporting Dashboards product community at onbase.com/community. So with that, we will remain on the line for just another minute or two if you have questions. Otherwise, thank you for joining us today, and we hope to see you on subsequent OnBase and DoxTek webinars. Thank you.